and welcome to Fidelity Next. I'm Tamara Radachai, and I have the pleasure of hosting today's very special episode. In the spirit of Financial Literacy Month, we're going to explore what financial wellness means at Fidelity and how we're bringing that to life for young investors. Money Gains is a series of explainer videos aimed at high school students and beyond, developed and produced by our very own employees, exploring the basics of investing. To give you a little taste, here's a clip of one of the videos looking at how stock markets work.
A company may decide to list its shares on an exchange, making them available to the public in order to raise capital. Each listed share represents a portion of ownership in the company. Shares are initially listed at a specific price, but once they're listed, prices can change.
The stock market is a broad term used to describe a collection of stocks traded on exchanges around the world. In practice, when people talk about the stock market, they're often referring to the performance of a specific part of the stock market, which is often represented by an index.
Stock markets, or indexes, rise and fall due to the behavior of the stocks and their prices within them.
This clip is just one small sample of 36 videos that have been produced so far, with 20 more on the horizon. If you're curious to check them out, you can find them on fidelity.ca/money-gains. Today, we're taking a behind-the-scenes look at how this series got started and what this enormous team effort looks like from our end. To give their insights on the backstory are Cam Chamberlain, Portfolio Strategist, and Cris, Director of Product Research. Welcome to the Fidelity Next stage.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, great to be here.
Okay, so let's kick things off with what you both do at Fidelity and how you're involved with Money Gains. Cris?
Sure. So I'm the Director of Product Research here at Fidelity, covering our multi-asset class and fixed income portfolios. I work with a super talented team of investment analysts and associates. It's a dynamic team. We wear many different hats, but if I were to explain our core and primary responsibilities, I would say it's maintaining strong relationships with our portfolio managers and investment staff, having an intimate understanding of their investment views, how those views are expressed in the positioning of their portfolios, and ultimately disseminating that information to various stakeholders, both internally and externally. So not only senior management and our sales partners, but also financial advisors and investors right across the country. In terms of the role Cam and I play on Money Gains, we served as the content developers for the series. So at the onset, we sat down and created the syllabus. We decided what topics we should cover. And then when we started filming the videos, we just managed the entire process, generally speaking.
Yeah, I'm a portfolio strategist at Fidelity, so I spend my time now speaking with financial advisors all about investment portfolios and portfolio construction. But Cris and I actually worked together quite closely when we were both investment analysts on the team that Cris now manages. And again, in that role and in my role today, I spend a lot of time and did spend a lot of time really just distilling what can be complex investment topics and making sure that that message got out in an understandable way to financial advisors, our sales folks, and the Canadian public. And I think that positioned us quite well to be involved in Money Gains and really just change the target audience. And don't get me wrong, that was a challenge to some extent, but really we're doing the exact same thing with Money Gains. We're just trying to speak to an audience that maybe has a little less prior investment knowledge, less investment education, and really make sure that we can still talk about those same core concepts, talk about investing, talk about portfolios, talk about the markets, just with a very different audience than who we generally speak to day in and day out.
Awesome. And in honor of Financial Literacy Month, can you talk a little bit about why financial wellness and investment education are important to you and also Fidelity?
Yeah, of course. I think when it comes to investment education, the important thing is this impacts everyone. At the end of the day, regardless of what you do in your life, in your career, in your personal life, you're going to have investments one way or another. You're going to have a pension. And as Canadians, we generally do. And you'll also have workplace investing, perhaps, your own personal investment accounts. And really, from an investment literacy standpoint, we're just trying to help young people get ahead and kind of kickstart that journey learning that not everyone has the opportunity to set out on when they're still young. I can speak for myself. I didn't really get all that much exposure to investing in kind of the financial world as a young person. When I was in high school, I didn't have immediate family that was in the industry. I really started to learn a little bit about investing when I was turning 18, 19, opening up my own TFSAs for the first time. And really when I went to school to start studying finance, of course, I had a lot of education and opportunity, including personal finance courses that for some people, they might have the opportunity to learn about in high school. My high school didn't offer those types of courses, so I just didn't get that opportunity when I was younger. And really, Money Gains is an opportunity for us as Fidelity, but I think also for ourselves to be involved in an initiative that would really just help democratize investment knowledge and bring it to younger Canadians that may not otherwise have access to this kind of information.
Yeah, and if I could just add to what Cam just said, when the opportunity presented itself to participate in Money Gains, Cam and I couldn't say yes fast enough because we know what it's like to be that young teenager hungry to understand the world of finance and just being overwhelmed, for one reason or another. It just feels like the industry makes everything unnecessarily complicated for some reason, even the more simple concepts. And so, don't get me wrong, there are some super complicated and complex topics that people spend a lifetime trying to master, but not the basic simple stuff, right? We should keep the simple stuff simple. Cam shared his story. When I was a teenager in high school, I remember being curious about finance and sitting in front of a Google browser and not knowing what to type in. And then eventually, when I found a website focused on, investing for beginners, it felt like you needed a undergraduate degree in finance or economics to even understand what you were reading. It was like a degree was a prerequisite. It was filled with financial jargon, acronyms that they never bothered to spell out for you. And so when we were invited to participate in Money Gains, Cam and I sort of had a quick chat and said, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep the simple stuff simple, and hopefully it's a good experience for our target audience.
So speaking of keeping it simple, going all the way back, how did Money Gains get started?
Yeah, sure. So, Cam and I just spent a few minutes talking about our personal experiences. I think it's important to highlight that those experiences are not unique to us, right? Pretty much everyone we know at Fidelity, Canadians right across the country, I think many people can sympathize with the challenges of trying to improve your financial literacy as a young person. And so the topic in general resonates deeply and profoundly with many people at this firm. And in terms of the catalyst or trigger behind doing something about it, I think we have to give credit to our president, Rob Strickland. He felt compelled enough to put a team together and challenged us with the question, we need to do more for young people and help them with their financial literacy. Take that away and come back to me with a few ideas. And so we did that, and eventually Money Gains was born.
Yeah, and we ultimately settled on a video series, but not after thinking about all the other opportunities and options out there. The big thing for us is that we wanted to meet young people where they were and where they like to go to learn in their spare time when it's not just put in front of you in a classroom. And to us, that led more naturally to video content than pages and pages of articles and again, all that kind of investment jargon that you can run into if you're really looking at the internet and just searching in Google, investing 101 or how to invest. So it wasn't really just a brainchild of an idea by the working group that was kind of struck up to solve this challenge that kind of Rob put in front of us, but actually came and was born out of a case competition that a number of our co-op students and interns at Fidelity worked on a few years ago, where we challenged them at the time to find ways where we could reach out to younger Canadians and younger investors. And one of the groups, I believe the winner of that competition, actually came up with a video series as an idea. So again, some of these ideas, while certainly we've been responsible for executing and creating some of these videos for Money Gains, we are not alone in coming up with any of the content and really the vision for the series itself.
Yeah, I think we agreed right away that if we put together a lesson plan in, Times New Roman fonts and slapped a few bar charts together, that would be a failing proposition. And so it was really about, understanding that Young people like to consume information with videos these days. I mean, I can certainly sympathize with that. When I was 12 or 13 and I had to tie a tie for the first time and my old man wasn't home, I went on YouTube and looked up a tie tying tutorial, right? So when young people are interested in topics, they tend to look online for engaging videos, 3 to 5 minute quick hits. It just seemed like the perfect recipe for something like this, and so we hope you enjoy it.
Awesome. So the series so far in total has 36 episodes. That's both in English and French, split down the middle. And then there are 10 of each planned for 2024. That's a crazy amount of work. Can you talk about some of the different teams that were involved and how they sort of work their magic behind the scenes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned, Rob really tasked a lot of us with this, and it took a very talented army at Fidelity to put Money Gains together from initial inception of the idea through all of the videos that we've created and those that are yet to come. But it really starts with really wonderful support from members of our senior executive team, Diana Godfrey in our HR department and Kelly Creelman, responsible for products and marketing. The two of them have been excellent champions for Money Gains and all of us working on the series when we've needed resources from across the firm. They've been fantastic champions for us in helping us kind of execute the vision. But really, day in and day out and week in and week out over the last couple of years, Linda Passarelli has been the kind of business lead for this, making sure that we were really executing, not just talking about ideas, but putting an action plan in place and sticking to it. So leadership, first and foremost, has been really, really strong. But as I said, it's not just a couple of people that have been involved. There are so many more.
Yeah, it really does take an army. I mean, I think when we sat down and counted how many people have been involved in Money Gains one way or another, we counted over like 100 people, right? Mm-hmm. And so just to acknowledge some of the folks who have helped us get this far, obviously Cam and I from the product team, we help with content creation. We had an amazing project manager, Loretta, who kept us on track, also kept us accountable if we ever got close to missing a deadline. Thanks for all of your support, Loretta. Our research team doing some market research for us, establishing focus groups that really helped frame our approach and what the appropriate way to reach young people were.
Mm-hmm. And while we were involved in maybe initially setting up and helping script out some of these videos, we have a full production team in-house that was fantastic in helping us film and edit the videos. It's interesting working at Fidelity. You've got a TV studio effectively in the office where we are today. And so it's really a unique environment where we could have the talent in the videos come down and shoot around different scenes in the office, but also in our studio. Our communications and marketing teams have been fantastic at taking those finished products and making sure that we're actually getting them into the market and getting eyeballs on them, because we want to do all this work to support Canadians and young Canadians. And if they don't know about it, there's no way we will. And finance has actually been integral in that effort as well, making sure that when we were putting these videos out there, that they were being watched and kind of tracking that progress and seeing how we could improve maybe some of the viewership as well.
Yeah, our learning and development team we're working with now to put together some supplemental educational resources. Our legal and compliance teams reviewed each and every video to keep us out of trouble, keep us out of the principal's office, so to speak. Just a quick shout out to our co-op students too. They put out quick hit videos for our social media platforms under the banner of Money Gains as well, and those were well received also. So truly an army indeed.
Love it. So that's behind the scenes. Let's talk about what we see on screen. Every single video that I've seen so far has had different people on it. Can you talk about why you chose that approach?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and that was on purpose. So at the onset, we actually debated this quite a bit. So we talked about, okay, do we hire someone studying journalism who would like some experience under the bright lights and maybe some experience as an anchor? Do we go out and find a young influencer who could relate to our target demographic, our target audience here being younger high school students? But ultimately, I think why we chose the approach we did was because we wanted these videos to come across as authentic, and we wanted to convey the message that if you give yourself a chance, you could learn these topics. We know how intimidating the world of finance can be, but by having different people from all different walks of life teaching you these videos in their own words, importantly, we felt like that message would come across. And so, as you said, Tamara, when you watch every video, we've got a couple of people just a few years removed from the age that our target audience is. They're from all different walks of life. As I say, they studied different topics in school, usually their first job at Fidelity. And as I say, importantly, they're teaching you these topics in their own words. Yes, Cam and I played a role in, we want you to talk about these topics, guys, but we tried not to change what they were planning on saying and how they intended on conveying the message. And so we hope that that message came across.
And one of the wonderful things from the position we were in is that we got to work with all of these different people that we wouldn't necessarily run into every day in the office, and from departments and lines of business that we don't really interact with at all in some cases, and really help them along the journey, help them get from a quick outline of what we'd like to touch on in their specific video to here's what we want to say, how we want to say it, and really make sure that we're telling kind of a consistent story across these videos, but as you mentioned, that each one is in really the talent's own words, and I still find it fun to refer to people as talent. But it's really been rewarding as well, because we've worked with so many people that have come back to us again and said, hey, I just had a wonderful experience doing this fairly uncomfortable thing. It's not natural to sit in front of a camera, especially when you're not used to it all the time. And of course, we're doing that today. But for so many people, that's the first time that they'd sat down in a studio and really been recorded. And for so many of the people we worked with to have such a positive experience that you now start to see some people in like a second video because they loved their opportunity that they had the first time around has been really rewarding for us, and is another reason, and just goes to show that we kind of made the right decision, making sure we had all these different voices from people around the firm and young folks that could get the message out there to even younger Canadians.
I remember being very impressed with how many people were fluent in French at the firm. So kudos, can't wait to see more. So in your experience, what's been the biggest challenge so far in producing this series?
By far, I think from my perspective, and I think our shared experience, it's identifying the difficulty and the tone of the videos that we wanted to hit. There are so many different topics when it comes to investment literacy, let alone financial literacy, financial wellness, personal finance, whatever you want to call it, that it's kind of difficult and daunting to figure out where to start. And really, we wanted to make sure that we had something for everyone. So you'll find in the Money Gains videos in this series, you don't have to watch it from start to finish. You can pick the topics that you'd like to learn more about. And if there is something that's talked about in that video you haven't learned before, well, then you can back up a couple videos, watch something else. We'll probably give you an intro to that topic as well. And if you are a beginner from square one, watch the first videos on the differences between saving and investing and setting goals and time horizons, and we can really get you started from the beginning and build up from there. So certainly difficulty in kind of getting that range was important to us, because some people do have a little bit more base knowledge and don't need to start at the very, very beginning. And the tone is also important, because we didn't want to just be like business news. We don't want to be the stuffy sitting in an office with a suit and tie, and I say that knowing that we're sitting here in suits today, talking about how to invest and what investing is all about. We wanted to make sure that the videos are engaging, that they would keep our audience kind of coming back, and that it didn't feel like you were sitting in a class or in a lecture, and that there would be some real world examples filtered in to those videos as well. So that tone and difficulty for us was really important to get right at the beginning.
I absolutely agree. Figuring out the right level of difficulty for these videos, it's something that, you don't appreciate how hard that is until you're actually putting together a syllabus and figuring out what you want to do. So I think one of the things that kind of validated how Cam and I were thinking was when we did those focus groups that I referred to earlier. So originally, Cam and I were thinking, okay, if we're going to put out a video series, as Cam put it, we need to have something for everyone, regardless of what your level is in terms of financial literacy. And so what that meant in practice was we were planning to do a few videos on some really simple topics, a few videos on some more moderately difficult topics, and then a few videos on some really difficult topics, or relatively difficult topics. We weren't sold though at first, right? And so when we had that focus group, we showed them a couple of our more simple videos, and the feedback that we received was a little bit mixed. So some of the students came back and said, you know what, that was perfect. I learned a lot. I'll watch the rest of your videos. That was great for me. I'm just getting started. But another cohort of those focus groups came back and said, you know what, don't talk down to us, guys. We're smart. Give us something to chew on. Give us some substance. And so that sort of served as the validation that Cam and I needed, that we need to provide a range of videos that vary a little bit in terms of level of difficulty, and we hope you like them.
Yeah, and we're a good mix as well of kind of fun but serious at the same time. If you just pepper in a whole bunch of jokes, it's not really going to get the message across and the educational component across and be as engaging as we might like them to be. So while we certainly kind of strive for like the Bill Nye the Science Guy goes to kind of investing school, that's how we've joked about it a lot. We have to make sure that we're also striking the right tone and making sure that message is coming across loud and clear too.
Absolutely.
So how did you come to choose all the different topics and map that out?
Yeah, maybe I could start, Cam, and you could add on to that. So again, another tricky topic, right? So look, I think at the end of the day, there are a core set of investment principles that are sort of non-negotiable, right? We had no choice but to talk about them, things like compounding, things like the relationship between risk and return, talking about asset classes, equity bonds, et cetera. That stuff we needed to put in there. But I think how Cam and I wanted to differentiate money gains just a little bit relative to perhaps some of these other sources that you may find on the internet is we wanted to pepper in some real world application, right? And so our goal was, let's teach these younger people about these fundamental principles that they need to know, and then let's help them so that when they finally enter the world of finance, whether that be in a career or just looking for somewhere to put your money, a lot of the lingo, a lot of the language will look familiar. And so to give you an example of that, I talked about the relationship between risk and return earlier. So we talk about risk, we talk about volatility. That usually means how the price of a security wiggles over time. We talk about that being measured by standard deviation. That's something I think you learn in grade 11. But then we also go into talking about, every investment product in the Canadian investment space is assigned a risk rating from low to high. And if you go high, then perhaps you need a longer time horizon, et cetera. So it's all about relating back the concepts that we're teaching to how it matters to you in the real world.
Yeah, and we wanted to group concepts and topics together as well. Yeah. So we kind of started out with the very basics, investing 101, saving versus investing, goals and time horizons, risk and return, common investing pitfalls, for instance, where that first suite of videos, you're looking at them and it's just to get an idea. So when you eventually see whether it's a website or a flyer for an investment, an advertisement, whatever it may be, that you understand kind of more of what you're looking at. The next chapter that we've been working on is more focused on how to build an investment portfolio. We talk about what capital markets are, how stock markets work, what are bond markets. We get into valuing stocks and bonds a little bit, talking about different subcategories within asset classes. So we start to get a little bit more advanced, but again, considerations that you want to be aware of when you're actually selecting investments and choosing how to invest for yourself. And we know that we're not done. There's of course more videos to come, but we wanted to really make sure that we were taking kind of a natural approach so that if you wanted to learn a lot about one subset of topics, there were a couple of videos that really related to that, but you could also jump all over the place and focus on those areas you were more interested in.
So speaking of what's to come, looking to the future, how are these topics kind of evolving?
Well, another great challenge for us is that there is so much that we can possibly cover. There's really a never-ending list of possible topics and videos we've already created. We could go and do a 5-minute video on one word and what that implication is for the market as a whole or for any given investment portfolio. So there are lots of options, and we encourage everyone, as you're watching these videos, send us ideas because we're certainly collecting a lot. But there are still areas that we know we need to adventure, and that's kind of where we're going to take things next. We've talked a lot about kind of the very basics of investing, how to build an investment portfolio, but we know we haven't talked about how you can actually go and apply that and invest. The types of investing accounts available to Canadians, for instance. You'll hear in the news, bull markets and bear markets. What does that mean? So there are a lot of topics that we know are still to come that we want to get to and will be getting to in 2024 and perhaps beyond. But it doesn't just stop with money gains at videos. This is the the beginning, really, and there's more to come in other areas as well.
Yeah, and without giving too much away, because I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, Cam put it well. It doesn't just stop with the videos. We're thinking about what we can do to supplement those videos. So, it's things like, can we put together a short little quiz so that if a high school student watched a video and they want to test their learning, they're able to do so. We'd love to get into schools and partner with the school boards right across Canada. If we do that, then we're happy to put together some supplementary materials to help teachers. And so Money Gains, it started as a video series. It's likely going to evolve into much more, so keep an eye on it.
Amazing. So any final thoughts on investment literacy for the young people watching today?
Yeah, if I could deliver one message to the young people in the crowd, and particularly those of you watching that are a little bit intimidated by the world of finance, it would be, we get it, right? And as I mentioned earlier, this is an industry that makes things unnecessarily complicated, but I promise you that you already understand topics and concepts much more complicated than what compounding means, right? So just give yourself a chance. Don't sell yourself short. Cam and I, it happens to us all the time. Our friends and family, they don't come from this industry. They don't work in this industry. They don't come from this lifestyle. And so we get asked all the time, hey, can you explain this to me in layman's, something that they've had trouble understanding in the past. In 10, 15 minutes, we're able to explain it to them and they leave thinking like, oh, okay, that's kind of what we're trying to achieve with this Money Gain series. So give our series a try, give us feedback. We hope we achieve that.
Yeah, and I think there's a risk to everyone to not going about this and not trying to improve your financial and investment literacy. You're eventually going to be faced with a decision or something in life where all of a sudden you need to learn it. You need to understand what stocks and bonds are, how to build an investment portfolio, how to assess returns and what that means. And we want to get you started now, so when you're first confronted with that kind of challenge, it's not the first time you're thinking about this. You're not going and looking up definitions and getting into a glossary and understanding what investing is all about. We want to position young Canadians to have the knowledge to be able to have those educated conversations when you're investing for yourself or working with a financial advisor, and to not be totally caught off guard and playing catch up at the end of the day. So really, Money Gains is designed with that goal in mind, and hopefully as you all watch, you'll find that you have some of those takeaways and you really improve your knowledge. And again, as Cris said, give us feedback because we'd love to hear from you and what you'd like to hear from us.
Well said.
Thank you both so much for joining us today. Super insightful, and we hope that you get inspired by all the different videos within our series. Thanks also so much to everyone who tuned in today. Please check out Money Gains via fidelity.ca, or if you like to binge through everything all at once, you can find the full playlist on Fidelity Canada's YouTube page. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Happy Financial Literacy Month, and we'll see you on the next episode.